the Hoosier Triplets, a trio of Indiana authors road tripping through the romance genre and sharing what we love and learn. Welcome to our podcast.
Whimsy, and where the hell are we? Chat with the Hoosier Triplets.
Yay! Are we good? Okay, so hi, I'm Ava Cuvée. I write out of this world romance, and I promised I wouldn't stare at myself in the camera.
But you're just so beautiful.
Oh,
And I am Cindy Tanner. I write romance with an edge.
And that leaves me. I'm M. Jane, the teller of the tales of the Novus Pack. We are your Hoosier Triplets.
And we're here today to discuss an event that you never forget. Your first time. But no, not quite that bad.
Oh, okay.
Our first signing.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the first signing was so much more interesting. First signing I did as an author was Writers on the River. It was in Peoria, Illinois. It was actually it was the first Writers on the River signing as well. I think maybe I only had my first book. I might have had 2 books at that point. So I had this 8-foot table, and it was me, my friend, and my one book. And she and I were doing shots of rum chata under the table. So it was great signing.
It's very on brand.
Yeah, it wasn't wine. I didn't want to be quite that obvious. Actually, I didn't want to share my wine, so I was okay sharing the rum chata.
You know, my first signing was Writers on the River as well. I think it was 2019 or 2019, 2020. I don't remember because it would have been, and then things got pushed back because of COVID. That's right. And that was my first one. And I had, oh my gosh, did I have all 3 books? I might have had my first 3 books out. I know I would have had at least 2. And very, very nervous because it was my first signing. And I don't know. Melanie would tell a story about how I was like first down there to like set up my table, and then I just like sat there until it started for like 4 hours. And probably the dumbest thing I did is I didn't know what money I would need to make change, so I brought like $70 just in singles, and then like a whole bunch of other bills, and I had like this huge stack of singles like I was a bad stripper or like a really crappy waitress. Yeah.
My first signing was at Lori Foster's RAGT in Ohio. It was my very first book. It was in 2015, so I've been doing this a long time. And I sat in my only 3 foot of space, and I was so excited because my husband, our best friend, my Manny David came. Little did I know that David came because he was certain I would not be able to make change. The book was $5. I took 20 copies and I sold out the first hour. And then my girlfriend Francesca from New York kept coming around and saying, "You should have brought more books. How come you don't have more books?" Which was a downer, but I have learned. But I had a good time. And the lady that shared the table with me, though, she was not happy that I sold out. So you have to deal with that.
What was she... did she feel threatened because you were so much more successful than she was?
I was very lucky. I've been doing this a long time. Like starting in 2013, author friends would let me sit at their tables. So I knew what to do. David knew what to do. I think she started out thinking she was going to tell me how it's going to be. And like, first of all, she tried to take more than half the table. And you know I love my space. And so that didn't start us out well. And then, David and I rocked and rolled, and, I sold out. And so I wrote "sold out" on my nameplate and just sat there and looked, like, woohoo, yes. And, she didn't like that, so she left early. That's when you've really pissed off your table mate, is when they leave early.
Oh my gosh.
So how has your process changed with signings from the first one till now?
I don't know that my process has changed much. Mm-hmm. My display has definitely changed as I've gotten more books, and then I have my children's books, so I have to separate the 2. And then, you get so many books that you can't just put them out vertically, so I had to go horizontally. And then I have a lot of swag that then I had to go horizontally to offer all the swag. And then here I am, short little me, like buried in between my 2 like towers. of stuff, but my process has always been pretty similar. I bring a big stack of 1s and 5s because I don't ever want to have to run out of change. And it also helps buy wine. So I don't have to put that on the credit card. But I do it all myself. I find I've had a couple of times when I've had a friend come to help me to be my PA for the day. And it actually, I get a little jealous because the one friend I have who comes with me, she's prettier than I am. So everybody looks at her like she's the author. I'm like, it's me. And then I'm so used to just doing it all myself, and I'm a control freak that I just end up like, she just stands there and looks pretty, which is fine, but I end up doing everything anyway. So it's just kind of, I don't mind having the extra elbow room since I have, my 2 towers anyway. So
I'm always impressed because in your high heels, you stand up almost the whole time.
Right. I haven't been high heels recently.
Well, and I know that you all heard from this one person that we used to know who said that at a signing, the author should stand up the entire time. I don't know who taught her that. I have never stood up the whole time. In fact, I want the softest chair in the whole room. But Ava stands the whole time.
I feel like the 50-foot woman. Like, I can't stand. I feel like I'm going to clobber, tear down Tokyo or something.
Like you're going to Godzilla over the reader.
Yeah. I do not take a huge stack of 1s anymore. I probably take more than I should. I know that it takes me about a half an hour to set up, so I don't get there 4 hours early. And I think the best thing that I've added to my little repertoire is having my little Ryobi battery-operated fan, because I've never been cold at a signing. I'm always hot. And, yeah.
There's nothing worse than being hot and sweaty and trying to, sell to the readers.
Yeah, I think my double secret thing is wear a skirt and have the fan. so I can get a little breeze.
And if you're sitting like Melody does.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That poor lady. It was so hot, and the hotel lobby was 85 degrees in June, and so I rolled my skirt. I said to the lady next to me, "Don't look over here, you'll go blind by my white thighs." But I rolled my skirt up absolutely as high as it could go, and just kept praying that there would be a breeze, because I was dying.
I remember helping you at your table that year at that signing, and I think that was hotter than when we were actually in Florida doing a signing in June. And we had to be outside to go any place and carry all of our books.
Well, they had that fountain in the lobby, so it was just so humid. It was crazy. I will say that I keep breaking the cardinal rule. I keep needing 1s because I keep pricing books where you have to give 1s as change. And yes, 2024, doing it again.
I like to end it in a 5 or a 0. Just make it easy.
It's
just
the
keep
smartest thing you can do. Don't be me. Okay.
It's not for change. It's the math. It's like, okay, that plus that equals, and then I run out of fingers.
That's why I absolutely love having someone at my table to just handle the money, because my brain doesn't want to switch from being my money person to getting to talk to someone, and I don't ever want a reader to feel like it's transactional, because it's so cool to get FaceTime and talk with a reader, because it's out of all these authors you're coming to me. But
do you all take the money first and then personalize? Or
yes,
I've forgotten a few times, and that's why perhaps David the Manny won't let me do money often. But yeah, I'm kind of notorious for chatting and having a really good vibe, and I start, "Oh, what's your name?" Da-da, and I'm going to write a special message, and they walk off, and it's like, I did not get that money, did I?
It's really hard sometimes. I usually try to ask if it's going to be cash or card, because then I can get the my little card machine booted up, and I'll get the book, and I can sometimes I might sign my name and start whatever the inscription's going to be, but not put their name until.
Okay, tell the truth. If you start to make a mistake, maybe spelling their name or using your legal name, do you just try to art over it, or do you throw that book down and start a new one?
Okay, so I have actually started to sign my legal name once, and I was like, oh shit, I was going to give them a new copy, and they didn't want it. They wanted me to and I didn't get my full, it was just the first letter of my last legal name. And they were like, oh, this will be worth more money because it's a mistake. And then I've buffered when it's time to do the inscription, and I'm just have a good shower. Before.
Bathe often, personal hygiene is important.
I like that.
Well, and
how obscure can we make our message?
I usually call myself out, and the readers, they're either humoring me and taking pity on me, or they seem to like it. I don't know. That's my quirk.
I have trashed several books because I misspelled my own name, I misspelled their name, I misspell a word in my thing. I actually have my sayings that go into the books, and I have it printed out, and I have it like to the side, so I can just glance to the side surreptitiously so they don't know that I'm trying to read what I'm supposed to write. But yeah, I usually, and they're always so nice. They're like, oh no, it'd be worth more. And I'm okay, we're not talking, Picasso.
So I love when somebody comes and they want to buy a bunch of books. Okay, I love it, although the math is hard, but with my Zettel, okay, we can do it. But then I start writing, and I have four sayings that I'll put.
You have 4 books.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, thanks for coming. Nice to meet you. I'm like, what toothpaste do you use? I don't know.
And that's hard, because if they buy the whole series, or if they're buying like more than like the 2 or 3 like sayings that I have, I'm like, well, crap. Or sometimes if it's like they're friends and they're buying it together, I'm like, I don't want to put the same thing in their books, because then they're not going to feel special. But I'm like, I don't.
Well, now you can add shower often. There's another one.
Yeah.
Don't talk to strangers.
No, don't dog ear these pages.
Oh, there you go. Don't be a monster.
Shush. Don't be me.
Don't be
Don't be
Melanie.
me, the book killer.
No, I try and make my sayings like specific to the book. And I have a couple of books where I really struggle with coming up with something that I think is meaningful to the book and interesting to read. And
We should have a contest on social media. And they can help you come up with it.
Okay, not sure I trust them.
I don't even have I don't have an extensive backlist, but I gave up trying to make it like personalized to the book, except for like 1 or 2 that is like I have more than that, but because I yesterday did a personalization for somebody, and I went to put like, oh, I hope you fall in love with like the couple's name, but I accidentally did like the brother and sister's name instead of the couple. I'm like, well,
I'll be writing it.
I was going to say, guess you're writing that book soon now.
but I'm like, okay, well, they're characters. I didn't put, and then I was like, happy birthday, and I don't know, because it was like for a birthday thing, and yeah, I don't know. I buffer, like I am not good like on the spot.
So what do you do? I know this has happened when you have the person come and they say either something awkward or freaking rude. How do you handle it? Or what has happened? Yeah, or at the signing, like, okay, I'll start.
I was going to say, there's a story behind this question.
So one year I had really good swag. I had the brushes that to clean between the keys of your computer. I mean, I got them on sale, and they were really, but they were a name brand. They were really nice. And this woman who I'd seen at signings regularly, she came up and she's like, can I take one? And I'm like, sure, of course. And, have a good day. And she's like, can I take another? And I'm like, and she goes, well, I would buy one of your books, but I don't care for your writing at all.
This is like, cheers. Say going goodbye.
You can give me the first one back.
Yeah.
No, I had a lady come up to me and she said, well, I'm not interested in your books because I don't like any of their covers. So then and then of course I was like, what do you say to that? Because I personally love all my colors.
And I'm an award-winning cover artist.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So I took it as a learning opportunity after talking with her for a couple minutes and explained to her that my covers are the way they are because, first of all, it tells the reader what they're getting into. So if she doesn't like my covers, it's probably because she doesn't want to read those kind of books. If I have the male, naked male chest, that speaks to a certain type of reader, and that I would guess from her reaction is not her. And she's like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense. I'm like, yes, and I didn't sell her any books, but at least, I didn't tell her she was rude, but...
Hi, I write werewolves, but on the cover of my book is a vacuum.
Oh, I really love that cover. I'm going to buy that book.
Yeah, I love a Hoover. Dyson does it better.
Now you got it right. Vacuum romance.
Am I the unicorn in the group? I don't think I've had anyone be rude to me like at my signing table.
You're very sweet though. You have that sweet vibe.
Yeah, people think they'll make me cry.
Covers.
You have great covers.
Well, yeah, but they've got like the man chest and
Well, I mean,
mermaids.
starting out, my covers were pre-made, so my budget was very, very limited. I haven't been able to, but you have gorgeous covers.
Your time is coming. The rude will come to you.
I mean, I have had awkward, just like, and this was me, but at a signing, a man came up and he looked like super, super embarrassed and he was like looking at books. So I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to give you my sales pitch, but if you have any questions, just let me know. And he was like looking a lot at my rom-com, Accidental Porn Star. And I was like, oh yeah, it's fun. And he bought it. And I was thinking that, he's probably buying it for his like wife or something because, and it, like he had me personalize it to him and it was like the most awkward thing. And I was like, oh, I hope you enjoy it. And then he came back around with his wife and she ended up buying like different books of mine, which was really cool. No, but I don't know, like awkward. And then the one at Nashville when we were sitting together, and then there was the man who was talking about essay, that he didn't like that in books, because it rhymes with grape.
Oh yeah,
right.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
That it because he was like, oh, I don't like books with rape. Rape is bad, and I'm like, I don't think anyone would disagree with that, but that was a very awkward.
Yeah, that was just an awkward A to Z, and he was my best friend then.
Because until you sent him my way.
Well, I spent like 20 minutes with him. I think I did my part for karma.
Well, at St. Louis, I did have a couple come to my table, and they were just like staying at the hotel. They weren't like there for the signing, but they just wandered in, and like, oh, you get to chatting, and it's like, we don't read romance, we don't like that. And I'm like, that's not rude, but I do hate that, like, we don't read those kinds of books. I'm like, okay.
Right. Have you even tried them?
Like,
because
it's not.
I bet you'd find someone that you like.
Even if it's a bodice ripper, I mean, you know what? If you're here, you've been involved in sex, even if it was just to be conceived, okay? So it is a natural thing.
I think you just touched upon a subject maybe we'll explore another time, but the whole romance shaming thing. And I know personally, I go right to they're romance shaming me, and I start the defensives. I just feel it like building up, like I'm ready to go off and spout numbers and statistics. I make them up, but they're still kind of true. But yeah, when people say I don't read romance, and I always want to go, well, tell me a book you read, because I bet I can find romance in it. Have you ever checked out Watson and Holmes?
Or a TV show or a movie that you've watched that doesn't have at least romantic elements?
I've been around long enough that I can usually like spot the people that are going to be like, romance? Ugh. And I'll be like, I write genre fiction. And it's like, it goes way over the head. They don't know. I'll be like, I write genre fiction and contemporary, romantic comedy, paranormal. Like, they don't know. Yeah. Like, I can throw out some big words.
Well, and Cindy, you also hit on, the man who came and bought a book. And I had an experience with a man buying my book, and I thought he was buying it like on behalf of his wife or something like that. And how stereotypical of us to just assume that only women are going to buy our books. And I even, and here's how bad I am, I even was like, and you realize there's like sex in it. And he was like, well, yeah. I'm like, okay.
With me too.
I know. And then it was like, fairly vanilla sex, but it was just like, and then I was like, I'm thinking, how just assumptive of me to think that he wasn't knowledgeable about romance. And
I think underground there are a lot of male romance readers. My chiropractor told me, and she's almost 70, and her brother asked for Christmas romance books, and so she was like, perfect, I have a client that writes it. And so she asked me for some recommendations, then I brought her like 2 pages worth, because I didn't know, and there's so many awesome books out there, and
you don't know what genre,
right? And if he, and especially if he admits he loves it, then I want to give him more ideas, because there's so much to love. But that's something at signings. If they're coming and I can tell, like, they're, do you write historical? No, I do not. But I always ask, what are you reading? What's a good book you've read right now? Who do you like to read? I've gotten some wonderful and amazing recommendations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking books with readers, like at a signing, like this is the best thing.
We love to do it. Yeah.
I actually, and I think it was the signing that you went to in Kentucky, that I had a lot of, it was one of those kind of awkward signings where there weren't a lot of people coming to my table. So, as people were walking by, I was like, oh, and what do you enjoy? And what do you like to read? And I had so many readers just say, dark, the darker the better. And I'm like, well, how do you address that? And I'm like, well, I write in outer space. Space is pretty dark.
Yeah.
I'm like they didn't come to my table. But I'm like, I wanted to kind of scream like, hey, try something else. You might like it too.
Okay, I read a lot of dark. And then I have to then go read something rom-com-y. Right now I'm in my rom-com because I read a lot of dark. And it takes, it affects me after a certain time. And, not everybody can, be the 16-year-old virgin and the mafia family that gets stolen from my wedding to the ugly, smelly, sweaty guy by the hot stud that has, full sleeve tattoos. It secretly can be gentle.
Well, and how you were saying, like, you only read dark. I struggle with talking to readers about, if they ask, like, what's the spice, steamy level? Like, how dark is it? Because everything, it really depends on your taste. And if you ask, like, well, what do you consider spicy? Like, if someone is saying, like, Colleen Hoover, it's like, well, which one? Because, like, an author's, like, your thing changes and...
You're too nice. I'm just like, when they say they want spicy, I say, do you want anal? I mean, because I still think right now that is like, that is clearly a boundary, and I don't have. You're too nice. I'm just like, when they say they want spicy, I say, do you want anal? I mean, because I still think right now that is like, that is clearly a boundary, and I don't have a
So am I not a spicy author because I
No, I know. But I think and I can't bring that up to everybody that comes to the table. There's certain, but there's some, but that's sort of then though, that gets them then to say, I don't like that. I'll go a little before that. Okay. But again, that to me, that is the one thing, because growing up, and when I was a teenager, y'all, blowjobs were the spiciest thing you could read. I mean, that was like the extreme. And if she swallowed an 11, that was it. I mean, that was like beyond hot.
So then let's talk about like masturbation, because a lot of my characters masturbate. And I have a feeling, nobody's said anything to me, but to me, that's kind of like a, you might be okay with sex, but what about the masturbation? Like, there's something about like that self-pleasuring that people are like, oh no, I would never do that. And I'm like, well, first of all, I don't understand it, but well, then you may not like my stories.
I think that though, that's a telling marker. And I was always confused with readers that didn't want the self-masturbating scenes, but yet they had no problem if she's, getting him off with her hand, or she's riding his fingers. And I'm sort of like, I don't understand the difference. I mean, I understand the difference, but I don't understand the difference.
It's just a different, you're getting to the same location.
Yeah. I think it's the build up to it. I mean, because sometimes when you have that like steamy, the tension, and if they're not to the point of having sex, like, or sometimes there's just like so many times that you can have your characters have sex, like you need to have something like the voyeur moments where like, yeah, she's masturbating, but like he's watching, or it's like a video call, or even just not. I mean,
well, I always wonder if there's still latent women being in charge of our bodies, in charge of our sexuality, not asking permission, just taking, and making sure we get what we want. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I still do feel that there's a little bit of shame in that, and people are still, carrying that in their heads, and it makes them uncomfortable.
I remember, so I got to tell the story. It's not actually a signing story, but I remember my first book, and I'd read a lot, but I don't know why I was reading a lot of historical, but I don't write historical. So my first book I wrote, and like there's this scene where he like just like presses against her back door, and I swore I was gonna get kicked out of Romancelandia because I was pushing the envelope so much. I'm like, that was good. Like, oh my gosh, a traditional, publisher is gonna like yank that scene out because it's just so
So spicy.
It's so spicy. And I'm like, oh, it's so lame.
Well, I don't think that I write like steamy or sexy. There is sex, but I mean, like, to me, that's just like part of life. Like, that is, I don't know.
It's what kids do.
Yeah, it's like everyone does it or has done it or will do it in some form.
And if you're not, do it.
But I mean, I read the Gambit, so like I'll read a lot of like reverse harem or dark, where I mean it is like hardcore or woodshed, and I mean it is so like it's like where like I don't know, like what's the measuring stick, and that's different for everybody.
To each his own. So yeah, when they do ask, it's kind of hard to answer that because and especially as as authors who have written multiple sex scenes, it just kind of gets it kind of gets a little rote after a while.
And I think as authors who write in romance, write books with sex scenes, we discuss it very easily. We don't feel any shame. My husband would be like, keep it down, and I'm like, why? Everybody does it, but
they should be.
But apparently not everyone talks about it at length that I do. But at a signing, that's the thing. I mean, you go table to table and eavesdrop, and you're hearing all kinds of words that probably 20 years ago nobody would do.
So we're getting down to our last 5 minutes.
Oh no!
I know, the time has gone by so fast. So what events is everyone doing this year? Where are we going to be traveling to, Trips?
I forget what we're doing in
Little
March.
Rock is happening.
Arkansas, Tulsa,
Oklahoma.
So we've got authors rocking Little Rock, and then the Hard Rock.
Authors at the Hard Rock?
Yes.
Rock hard at the Hard. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's hard and rock, so it'll be okay.
And then we will be in Lawrenceburg, Indiana for the library signing at the Lawrenceburg Library. We will have the reader-author get-together in June.
Yep, with our boardroom.
Yes.
And my brain is buffering.
Oh,
I'm not-
Batesville Library.
The Batesville
Or
Library.
what, Ripley County.
The Ripley County
So look at the
author.
name of my
author
counties.
I haven't been accepted yet. And then I'm doing an extraordinary author signing for alien and monster romance in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and I think it's October.
I put in for that because I desperately wanted to I didn't hear back. You need an assistant or a travel buddy. I never turned down Tennessee.
Absolutely, come on down.
Well, and then when is it? Because RAM is October. The romance author mastermind.
So the one I'm doing is early October, and the RAM I think is 2 weekends after.
Oh
that.
gosh. Okay. Well, my wedding anniversary falls October 1st. I was gone last year for it. I might actually need to. Well, we'll have to see.
Celebrate early.
Celebrate often.
Yeah.
There you go. Just come to Pigeon Forge with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell my husband I'm gonna spend our anniversary weekend at the place he loves the most without him.
That's okay.
Talking about sex.
TMI, I had a gynecologist appointment last Valentine's Day, so it wasn't
Did they give you flowers or
no, I didn't
compliments?
even get a dinner or anything, no.
I feel like in this group talking about a gynecologist is not
TMI. Okay, I'm just thinking of,
We're just talking about anal and swallowing. So I mean,
true. Authors and, readers and podcast viewers beware.
okay, well, until next time.